Good evening, I'm Norman Robinson, and welcome to Affordable Housing Matters. On tonight's show, we sit down with Bernadette Jelks of First NBC Bank to get an update on what the bank is doing to stimulate new community development. Councilwoman LaToya Cantrell will also join us to discuss rental registry and how many New Orleanians are renting and are living in unsafe conditions. Also, Jan Gross will take us to a housing luncheon 40 years in the making. Information that matters is coming your way when we return. Rents have risen dramatically in the last decade, but the conditions of rentals have not come close to keeping pace. We are now joined by Councilwoman LaToya Cantrell to discuss what needs to happen in our community to quell this mounting problem and improve the housing quality in New Orleans. Thank you, Councilwoman Cantrell, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're quite welcome. Nice to have you back on the show again. Where are we with respect to the access to affordable rentals for our residents?
Right. Well, currently, still about 70% of our residents are paying over 36% of their earnings on their rents. And, you know, that is cost burden. But what we are seeing now, we're seeing more of these units that are staying on the market for longer periods of time, which means that the rents are starting to drop. Not significantly now, but they are starting to come down in certain areas. Now, when you have more on the, of course, when you have, it's supply and demand. And so with them staying on the market longer, it's only going to produce, I'm thinking, again, lower rents. But it's a time issue. We still have a long ways to go. And we also have to ensure that there are incentives, you know, that will help not only the rental community, but the development community as well as putting affordable units on the market. We have been very successful at streamlining or tweaking the neighborhood investment fund, which is now being utilized by the community development office of the city. That's targeting affordable housing and also allowing people to stay in their homes. So it's one thing about, of course, getting people into homes, but it's also, right now, we're seeing a real need to help people stay in their homes.
How does that work?
Well, how it works is that the city would partner with organizations that either renovate housing to bring properties back on the market, as well as work with organizations that will repair and do minor repairs for homeowners to help them stay in. Because we are seeing people feeling the push to either sell their homes, and when they do that, they may get an initial, bump in terms of, the revenue that was generated from the sale, but they still have to live somewhere.
Sure.
And so we found that instead of people moving out, that it is a real benefit to helping them stay in.
What about when seniors, the empty nesters, decide to downsize? What opportunities are there for them to remain in New Orleans? I know you mentioned they have to sell their homes, but then at the same time, the home prices are sky high.
Exactly, and we have seen a large percentage of units right now that are seniors, and that will be coming online in the city. But you know what? We still have a strong demand for this type of affordable rental. And so we're really going to have to just stay focused and utilizing the resources that we generate from this millage, the Neighborhood Investment Fund, as well as leveraging other home dollars that we do get from HUD, from the federal government. Now, we've seen such a decline in that, and
yes.
we will continue to see a decline. And so it means that we're going to have to be more strategic with the dollars that we generate locally. And that's why this neighborhood investment fund is so important.
Now, the neighborhood investment fund depends how much on HUD, and to what extent are you concerned about the new administration under the president-elect?
Right.
How should you say, diminishing the resources from HUD?
Yeah, that's something to be mindful of. Now, the Neighborhood Investment Fund has no connection with the federal government at all.
That's a good
because
thing.
it is a local millage. Now, it's a 30-year millage that was passed in the 90s. Okay. Now, my big intent here is to reshape and refocus the NIF fund, in which we have, so that we can show our people that we're utilizing their money appropriately. So when it's time for renewal, within the next about 5 years left on this now, when it's time for renewal, it won't be a tough sell, because we will be able to show people how we have improved the quality of housing in the city. And so one of the other things that we've been able to do, which I'm excited about, the city council with the short-term rental,
yes.
we pushed very hard for a portion of the fee structure would go to the Neighborhood Investment Fund. We need to build this fund up, because it should not just be reliant on a millage either. We have to put money into it. So we have to be creative in doing so. So with the short-term rental, as well as the rental registry that will be coming forth, when the fees are paid for inspections, for the landlord community to sign up for the registry, a portion of that fee will also go to the NIF fund. And so this is a way of being more creative with the revenue streams that we currently have, as well as creating, pushing more dollars to make this housing fund work in a way that we know it needs to.
Two questions as it relates to the short-term rentals. That's for the people who don't know, that's what's known as the Airbnb, right? And New Orleans, the New Orleans City Council made news in the New York Times recently, because you've been able to negotiate some terms with Airbnbs that other cities weren't so successful in doing. But one city in Switzerland raised concerns that sometimes Airbnb reneges on its negotiated settlements. Okay. How concerned are you that is a possibility here in New Orleans?
Well, I think that we have a real strong foundation which we've built this short-term rental ordinance on, and also the enforcement mechanism as well. I do not believe, now we'll have to see this, but I do not believe that New Orleans will be shortchanged just because of the work that we put into strengthening this ordinance in the best possible way to ensure that we do have enforcement on the ground, and we can bring stabilization to neighborhoods who feel they may, be pushed out, or it may become more of a tourist attraction, that sort of thing. But that's why that NIF fund there was so important as well, because we can create balance where it would need to be. Now, we always have to keep in mind that the New Orleans City Council can always go back and change laws. So if we find that Airbnb and these other platforms are not doing what they're supposed to do, especially align with our law, then they would be in violation, and there would be a need for us to take action towards that.
How do you satisfy or give some sense of comfort to people who are skeptical or who are wary of the impact of Airbnbs on their communities? I know at the outset of this interview you mentioned that some rentals are staying on the market a lot longer now. So what's the chances of those rentals turning to Airbnb and therefore blocking out local residents who are seeking affordable housing?
Right. Now, on the front end of your question, in regards, it was to the Airbnb or the people in communities who feel threatened by the short-term rental. Now, on the front end of that, I can understand and I sympathize with our residents who feel this, because we have not done a great job with enforcing many of the laws that are on the books in the city. So when the city council is facing changes on land use matters, most oftentimes it's when the residents come forth, it really has to do with fear of the lack of enforcement. So I believe that we will be able to change this perception once we show them the reality, meaning that we are enforcing short-term rental. So when we do that and we do it well, I think we will prove to our people that we care about them, that we're going to make sure that we're protecting their quality of life where they live, and we're going to hold people accountable. I think we have to do that. Now, in regards to the units staying on the market longer, it really speaks to even the crunch that our landlord community is having.
Okay.
Because if it's on the market, they're not making any money either. They're losing. So we do have to create a win-win situation into whether if no one's renting the unit, either the price is going to come down,
or they're going to go to Airbnb.
Or they're going to do Airbnb. But either way, it's going to create a win-win scenario because you don't want your rental community either to be in a crunch, meaning your ownership side of it. They matter too. And we are a strong rental city, meaning we have more rental property on the market or just in our city than we do have owner-occupied units. So it's going to be something that we have to just stay focused on, like laser focused, to really see how we're doing with enforcement, how we're doing with the shifts that may come in neighborhoods, and also just how we're responding to them in real time.
And what is your message to people who are concerned about gentrification, about people being gentrified, if you will, out of their communities?
Sure. I think that redevelopment is different from gentrification.
Okay.
And I think that we've seen both, to be fair. We have seen areas, so for example, as Central City that has been reinvested in, that is trying to still kind of keep that balance, which we needed some reinvestment pre and post Katrina. And so that to me speaks to redevelopment. Now, within this community as well, we're wanting to make sure that the properties that are either on the market or coming to the market are incentivized so they can, one, remain affordable or be offered, at a rate that your working class citizens can also afford to live. Because when we talk affordable housing, it's not just, your lower of the lowest in terms of income. It's your working class community as well. It's your teachers, it's your policemen, it's your firemen, your nurses. And so we have to make sure that the price point is just aligned with them as well.
And along those same lines, when you talk about your working class, there are many among them who are concerned, who fear being compartmentalized into certain segments of the community or of the city. What is your message to those people about those particular concerns?
Right. Well, one, I think that we really need to know our fabric, the fabric of the neighborhood, because some of it can also be the perception. But we do know in reality that people are feeling the crunch. And when they feel the crunch, it's like, well, what do I do? Do I go ahead and do I sell? Mainly, we're seeing our seniors. This is really impacting our seniors disproportionately, I would say, who did not receive adequate resources to rebuild their properties, who have been, receiving, whether it's code, enforcement liens or fines. It scares them. And so it scares them into really selling. And so we need to do some hand-holding. We really do. Case management and hand-holding is needed for this resident or within this population of people within our community. We have seniors living, just one for example, today, a couple living in a property that is that should be condemned. Now, it could be sold now and it could be redeveloped, but they're living with electric cords coming from another property on the front porch. And these are seniors, but they don't know what to do. And so here recently, this week, even Councilmember Head, my office has been working with this family to get them into a better living situation while we do some hand-holding to then help facilitate a succession as well as what will happen to that property. But our people need help, and it's not easy out here. And so we have to create the resources to where we can meet their needs and get them through the process, because we're seeing that in some cases they may not even need to sell. Okay. If again, tools are created to help them.
And very quickly, is there an office or some place that they can be referred to get those kind of answers so that they can determine what they need to do going forward?
You know what, there is not an official, I hate to say, office that they can call for this. I would refer them to the Greater New Orleans Fair Housing.
Okay.
That's a great start. They're a great partner with me, as well as just the council across the board. I chair the Community Development Committee, and they've just been fantastic with helping. But they can always contact the District B office. They can contact, I know, the at-large offices as well. But we know that hand-holding is necessary, and my staff is just prepared to help people throughout the city, as we've demonstrated.
So you'll be there to assist them if they should contact you?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. It's always a pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. When we return, Jan Gross takes us to the World War II Museum for the Neighborhood Housing Services of New Orleans' first celebrity luncheon. So don't go far.
I needed help finding a doctor.
PACE.
I needed help with my medication.
PACE.
I needed help getting around.
The Shirley Landry Benson PACE Center is a place that helps seniors remain in their homes, providing the care they need. If you or a family member are over 55 years old, you may be eligible for benefits offered by PACE. For more information, contact us at 504-835-0006. PACE, caring for those who cared for us.
You know, 40 years ago, a group of local banking leaders wanted to help people understand the often complicated mortgage process. They formed the Neighborhood Housing Services of New Orleans. It helped educate, but it blossomed into so much more than that. Soon they were building low-cost homes, revitalizing neighborhoods, helping thousands of people unlock the door to the American dream of home ownership. Janet Gross has their story.
Their pictures help tell the story, just the beginning of the story, of making it possible for thousands of people in New Orleans to go home, to a home of their own. The mission of Neighborhood Housing Services has always been to educate first-time home buyers, help them understand the language of mortgages and credit and interest, to basically show them how it all works and help them through the process.
When they finish with us, they're more informed consumer. They know what they're doing. And like I said, we give them a roadmap to where they want to go.
That's what they're celebrating on this 40th anniversary. Not only the people they've helped, but those who've helped them all these years with donations and support.
The work that we do is important. It was important 40 years ago, and it's equally important today.
They know that home ownership improves neighborhoods, communities, families, and schools. And with donations and partnerships and the generosity of others, one house at a time becomes a home.
We own over 30 lots in the city that we're going to develop in the next 18 months, and all those will probably be sold to first-time home buyers or low-income home buyers. Yeah, most of the houses are about 1,200 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Modest houses, but they're made out of good quality products.
And a well-made house combined with a well-educated consumer makes it all work.
We take them from start to finish, and we're there for them even after they purchase.
NHS partners with banks and lenders to make the transactions easier. And they've also been partnering with a university to help the building go smoothly as well.
We are going to start building a 2-bedroom, 2-bath model through the Urban Build program that we partner with Tulane University, where the architecture students design the house and they build the house. One semester they design, the spring semester they build the house.
A lot of people pitch in to make this work, changing lives, stabilizing neighborhoods, educating buyers. Neighborhood Housing Services celebrates the successes even as they reach out to help more and more people find their way home. I'm Janet Gross for Affordable Housing Matters.
In addition to helping first-time home buyers, NHS also assists senior citizens with safety and accessibility issues in their homes. Now, if you would like to support NHS, visit their website at nhsnola.org. More affordable housing matters when we come back.
Saturdays at 2 p.m.
Community involvement is an integral part of First NBC Bank, and one of those major involvements is helping to fund affordable housing initiatives in our local area. Joining me now to discuss more about this endeavor is Miss Bernadette Jelks, First NBC Bank Affordable Housing Manager. Ms. Jelks, thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
It's great to have you. What are the new projects that the bank's involved in with regard to housing development?
Well, currently we try to make sure that we stay an active participant in any of the local initiatives that support homeownership and affordable housing throughout the New Orleans metro area. This year we're taking on, one of our goals is to take on an aspect of really more of a one-on-one approach where we're really trying to get more into the community to be able to touch and reach and bring our message, directly to the people. And in that effort, one of the things that we recently were able to do was to complete a workshop with one of our religious organizations, or church organizations, that we have a direct banking relationship, to bring a homeownership program opportunity to that group. They came to us with a desire to be able to bring information that could assist their members to help as a level of support to begin to grow their financial support and self-sufficiency. So we worked in coordination with one of our local nonprofit partners, Neighborhood Development Foundation, specifically Mr. Fred Johnson, offered himself up as a support to that process. And we went out and just did a workshop on a local weeknight at the church. Had a good turnout, but what it really allowed us to be able to accomplish, like I said, is to bring our message directly, to those members, to allow them to be in a position where they truly got a true feel for what that initial process would begin to look like from the standpoint of offering initial, home buyer training and financial fitness to support, to learn the steps to become positioned to grow their opportunities for home ownership.
Now, why is that significant for First NBC?
Because we do believe in that education process. The more we believe that a person can educate themselves and prepare themselves, it helps them to take control, of their ultimate, end product, which is being able to be self-sufficient, financially self-sufficient in maintaining home ownership. The more you know about a process, it also takes your fears away about what to expect and what to do in a process as well. So in anything, you want to be able to learn and prepare yourself as you move forward. So we always want to be able to foster opportunities for education.
Now, you mentioned Fred Johnson with Neighborhood Housing Development Organization. Why is an organization like that critical or key to have an association with First NBC?
Because it's about the partnership. Partnering. Let me first say, New Orleans to me is special in that it offers the greatest opportunity that you'll find in many of the surrounding areas as far as affordable housing training. Working with our nonprofit partnerships allows us to be able to create a cycle of success. A process whereby a person can follow step by step to truly reach their goal. So having groups and organizations that focus on that initial effort allows the bank to be in position to make workable transactions. So the more a person knows up front and can have a person who can help to guide them through that process, it just creates better success rates for our consumers. So we want and we like to see the steps that a person has taken before they get to that process of purchasing a home. And in many cases, when you're working with different resources or subsidy programs, there's an education component to that. And so having taken that training, certifies that person's eligibility to participate in certain programs in the parish as well.
I would imagine that this also enhances a person's success in being able to maintain and stay in that particular dwelling.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because the more you know about yourself, it helps you to, make sure that you plan for the expectations around homeownership. And with that training, it really does break it down into, sections so that you have the opportunity to learn about, what it takes, number one, to work with a real estate agent, what's involved in understanding the appraisal on a home to determine its overall value. The training will put you into contact with closing attorneys so that you truly understand what it is to own the house, not just from the standpoint of going to an active sale, but legally, the legal documentation surrounding the purchase of a house. You'll have an opportunity to speak to insurance agents so that, as you know, you have to source, homeowners or flood insurance coverages, things to think about as you, set the goal or determine when and how to move forward. And that's ultimately what the education is about, too, is it helps you to set a goal for when to start your process, how you're going to move forward with your process, what do you need to do to make sure that you're fully prepared for a successful process, because that, at the end of the day, is what everybody's goal is for a home purchase to be a successful transaction. So that education, can be a true A to Z process, but it's based upon your time frame. We never want to rush anybody into a process, because that's when the maintenance and maintaining of a home can, can be questioned, is going through a process that was not done at a pace that really is comfortable for a person. So that education, like I said, it gives the power back to the end user. And that's what we like to see, as a person who knows what they've got and how to use it at the end of the day.
Well, thank you for demystifying the home buying process, and it's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that will do it for us here tonight on Affordable Housing Matters. We would like to thank Bernadette Jelks and Councilwoman LaToya Cantrell for being our guests this evening. For more information on our guests on this show and others, please visit WLAE.com and click on the Affordable Housing Matters link. There you can get in contact with every guest we've had on our program. Also, tell us what you want to see on Affordable Housing Matters by emailing us at ahm@WLAE.com. Again, thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Norman Robinson. Have a good night and a wonderful holiday season.